Hey everyone, and welcome. If you've ever felt like the terms artificial intelligence, machine learning, and generative AI are just a big, confusing soup of buzzwords, well, you've come to the right place. Today, we're going to crack the code on what these powerful concepts really mean, using the super clear historical framework from Dr. Osama Alshareet. All right, let's get into it.
So you hear these words everywhere, right? On the news, in ads for the latest gadget, all over the place. And they're often used like they're the same thing. But are they? Well, not exactly. And getting the difference is actually pretty crucial if you want to understand the tech that's literally reshaping our world. Stick with me, and I promise it's all going to click.
You know, what I love about this slide is it kind of gives us the whole answer in one simple image. The best way to think about this is like one of those Russian nesting dolls. The biggest, outermost doll is artificial intelligence. That's the whole big idea. Then, nestled right inside of it is machine learning, a specific way to do AI. And at the very core, the smallest and newest doll is generative AI. This picture right here, that's our map for this whole explainer.
And here's our game plan. We're going to trace AI's family tree, look back at the original dream of thinking machines, see how everything flipped on its head when they started to learn on their own, explore the creative explosion that's happening right now, and finally, we'll get into why these terms get so blurry and why it actually matters that we get the right.
Okay, so let's start by jumping in our time machine. It's really important to get that this isn't about one single invention that just popped into existence. It's the story of one massive idea that's evolved through some really distinct phases, with each new chapter building on the last.
You can really think of this story in 3 acts. Act 1, from the 50s to the 70s, is the foundational era. This is when the whole idea of AI was even born. Act 2 is the rise of machine learning, which totally dominated from the 80s up to the early 2000s. And that brings us to Act 3, the crazy generative AI boom that we're all living through right now.
So let's dive into Act 1. You gotta imagine, back in the middle of the 20th century, the pioneers of this stuff had this incredibly bold, almost science fiction goal to build machines that could genuinely reason and think, just like a human.
This whole approach now has this kind of cool retro name, Good Old-Fashioned AI, or Go-Fi for short. And the words to remember here are human-crafted rules. The core belief was that you could create intelligence by just feeding a computer a massive, massive library of logical, if this, then that rules for it to follow.
So the key thing here is that intelligence was a top-down process. Humans, us, we had to hand code every single piece of knowledge. If you wanted a computer to identify a cat, you literally had to write rules, like if the thing has fur, and it has whiskers, and it meows, then it's a cat. Everything was based on logic and symbols that we programmed ourselves.
But that whole top-down approach, well, it had its limits. It was really brittle. It just couldn't handle the messy, unpredictable real world. And this is where the story takes a huge plot twist. The big question became, what if, instead of us programming all the rules, we could build machines that learn the rules for themselves?
And that very question brings us to machine learning, our second nesting doll. Now, it's still a type of AI, for sure, but the method is completely different. Instead of hand-coding rules about what makes a cat, you just show the machine a million pictures of cats, and it learns the patterns of catness all by itself. And this was a total revolution. Using tools like neural networks and statistics, machines suddenly got incredibly good at perception. You know, things like recognizing your voice, spotting objects in photos, or translating languages. For decades, machine learning was the powerful, practical engine that was driving the entire field of AI forward.
Which brings us to today, right now. With these huge leaps in computing power and some amazing new breakthroughs, that learning engine has evolved into something truly spectacular. We've shifted from machines that can just predict and classify to machines that can actually create. And welcome to generative AI, our innermost doll. This is a super specialized type of machine learning, but its purpose is completely different. It's not about identifying the cat in the photo anymore. It's about generating a brand new photo of a cat that has never, ever existed. Its entire job is to produce new stuff.
And this slide just shows you how wild its power is. We're talking about large language models like ChatGPT writing an entire essay, image generators creating stunning art from a simple sentence, and even systems that are designing new, potentially life-saving drugs. It's a fundamental leap from just analysis to actual synthesis. Okay, so that's the history. But it brings up a really big question, right? If almost everything we hear about and use today is technically machine learning or generative AI,
Why do the media and all these companies just lump everything together under that one big banner of AI? Well, the answer really boils down to the different goals of two very different worlds, the world of scientific research and the world of business. In academia, these distinctions are absolutely critical. AI is this broad field that grew out of logic, while machine learning comes from a totally different world of statistics and optimization. They have different conferences, different journals, different goals. But in industry, those clean lines get totally blurred. The main reason? Well, most commercial products are ML-based, and for marketing, a single powerful word like AI is just way more effective.
This quote from Dr. Alshareet's work just hits the nail on the head. AI evokes innovation and strategic advantage, whereas ML sounds narrower and more technical. To a customer or an investor, AI sounds revolutionary. It sounds like the future. Machine learning sounds, well, like a technical detail for the engineering team. Let's be honest, AI just sells better.
So you might be thinking, okay, who cares? If industry wants to call it all AI, does it really matter? And the answer is a huge yes. This isn't just some nerdy debate over words. These distinctions have serious, real-world consequences.
Think about it this way. For engineers, you have to know if you're building a predictive system or a creative one to pick the right tools. For government, the rules you need for a model that can generate fake news are totally different from one that just recommends movies. For education, we have to teach the next generation with clear concepts. And for science itself, you can't push the boundaries of knowledge without using precise language.
And looking ahead, these lines are probably going to keep learning, but in some really cool new ways. The real goal now is to build these hybrid systems that can combine the logical reasoning of old-school AI, the pattern recognition of machine learning, and the creative power of generative models into something way more capable than any of them are alone. And all of this leaves us with a final massive question to think about. As these tools get more and more powerful, combining logic, learning, and creation, what are we ultimately building here? Are we actually creating a better brain, a true intelligence that understands the world? Or are we just building a better parrot, an incredibly sophisticated mimic that can reproduce what we do flawlessly, but with zero real understanding? The answer to that question is going to define our future.